The message has been read for 20 minutes. There is still no reply. Nothing has technically happened, but your mind is already reviewing your wording, their mood, and whether you have somehow changed the relationship. Being left on read hurts because silence gives you no clear explanation. And when information is missing, the mind often fills the gap with a possibility that feels most personal. Here are 7 reasons a tiny read receipt can carry so much emotional weight. Number 7. The read receipt creates a visible unfinished moment. Before read receipts, silence contains several possibilities. Maybe the person had not seen the message. Maybe their phone was elsewhere. Maybe they were busy. Now you can see that the message reached them. They opened it. The conversation appeared to move forward, then stop directly in front of you. That creates an unfinished social moment. You made a small move toward another person, and their next move is missing. Every time you check the chat, you see the same open loop: delivered, read, unanswered. The uncomfortable part is real, but the receipt tells you only that the message was opened. It does not tell you what happened afterward. Seen is information about a screen, not a complete explanation of someone's intention. Even the word read promises more certainty than it can deliver. It cannot tell whether they understood your tone, whether they had time to think, or whether they opened the chat accidentally while clearing notifications. The label looks final. The human moment behind it may have barely started. Number 6. Your mind treats the delay like a clue. Once the silence begins, ordinary details start looking meaningful. They usually reply within 10 minutes. They used to send longer messages. They were online 5 minutes ago. They reacted to somebody else's post. Each fact becomes a piece of evidence in a case you did not mean to build. The longer the delay continues, the more convincing the case see and feel. But clues without context are easy to arrange around almost any conclusion. The person might have opened your message while walking into a meeting. They may want time to answer properly. They may have been interrupted and forgotten. They may simply not have the energy for a conversation. Those explanations are not guaranteed either. The point is that your most painful interpretation is also an interpretation. A delay can contain information, but it rarely contains the entire story. This matters because anxious certainty can feel more convincing than honest uncertainty. They are ignoring me gives the mind a solid object to react to. I do not know yet offers nothing to solve. But emotional discomfort does not make the solid explanation more accurate. Sometimes maturity means tolerating an unanswered question without rushing to make it answer itself. Number 5. Silence makes you inspect yourself. If someone says, "I'm busy, I'll answer later," your mind has somewhere to place the delay. When they say nothing, attention often turns inward. Was the joke annoying? Did the question seem needy? Was the message too long? Should you have added an emoji? You stop asking what might be happening in their day and start searching for the defect in what you sent. This search can create the illusion of control. If you cause the silence, perhaps you can identify the exact mistake and never make it again. Blaming yourself feels painful, but it also feels more actionable than admitting you do not know. The cost is that uncertainty becomes a trial, and you become both the suspect and the investigator. Instead of waiting for new information, you manufacture evidence from your own insecurities. When you catch this happening, use a more accurate sentence: "I am missing information, not discovering proof." Then return to the message you actually sent. Read it once as if a friend had written it. Was it cruel, demanding, or disrespectful? If not, stop putting it on trial. A normal attempt to connect does not become shameful merely because the response is delayed. Number 4, a reply can start to feel like reassurance. At first, you may simply want an answer. After enough checking, the reply begins to represent something larger. It will prove they are not upset. It will prove you did not embarrass yourself. It will prove the relationship is still safe. That is why the notification can produce such immediate relief. The content may be completely ordinary, "Sorry, busy day," but your body reacts as if a threat has been removed. The problem is not enjoying a reply. The problem begins when another person's response becomes the only thing allowed to settle your mind. Then each delay temporarily hands them control over how you feel about yourself. You can want a response without using it as a verdict. Their reply may clarify the situation. It does not determine whether your message was reasonable or whether your need for connection was shameful. There is also a difference between reassurance and communication. Communication gives you useful information about another person. Reassurance temporarily removes a fear inside you. When those become confused, you may need increasingly fast replies to feel safe, even from people who have done nothing wrong. The goal is not to stop caring. It is to notice what job you are asking the reply to perform. Number 3, digital silence removes the human details. In person, you can see someone glance at the clock, lose their train of thought, or get pulled into another conversation. You receive context without needing an explanation. A messaging app compresses all of that into 2 blunt signals: read and not answered. The screen removes the meeting, the tired expression, the noisy room, the family interruption, and the half-written reply. What remains looks deliberate because it looks clean. One person sent something. The other person saw it and produced nothing. But digital simplicity is not the same as emotional simplicity. A clean interface can hide a complicated human moment. Before treating silence as a carefully chosen statement, remember how much of the scene the screen cannot show you. Think about how often you have opened a message at the wrong moment. You intended to answer after finishing one task, then another demand replaced it in your attention. From the sender's side, your silence looked perfectly deliberate. From your side, it was an ordinary collision between intention, memory, and a busy day. Other people can be equally uncinematic. Number 2, waiting can reactivate every similar silence. This message may not be the only one you are reacting to. The delay can resemble the friend who slowly disappeared, the person who used silence as punishment, or the conversation that ended without an explanation. Your mind recognizes the shape before it knows the outcome. You reached out, they became unavailable, and you were left to guess. That resemblance can make 20 minutes feel like the beginning of an old ending. You are no longer responding only to this person. You are preparing for every previous disappointment to happen again. Past experience can help you notice patterns, but resemblance is not certainty. Ask what belongs to the present moment. How long has it actually been? Is this unusual for this person? Is there a broader pattern, or is one delay carrying the weight of several old ones? You do not need to ignore repeated dismissiveness. You only need to avoid turning one incomplete moment into a conclusion before the pattern exists. A pattern has more than one data point. It includes what happens repeatedly, how the person responds when you discuss it, and whether their communication leaves you chronically guessing. One delayed message may require patience. A relationship built around strategic silence may require a boundary. Treating those situations as identical either creates unnecessary fear or excuses behavior that genuinely hurts you. Number 1, the real discomfort is not silence. It is powerlessness. You have sent the message. The next move belongs to someone else. You cannot make them answer, explain the delay, or give you the reassurance you want. So your mind offers substitutes for action. Check the app again. Rewrite the message in your head. Send a second message to make the first one seem more casual. Watch their online status. Imagine what you will say when they finally respond. These actions create movement without creating control. They keep your attention tied to a decision that is not currently yours to make. Checking also resets the waiting period emotionally. You may have put the phone down for 10 minutes, but the moment you reopen the chat, the uncertainty becomes fresh again. Nothing new has happened, yet your body experiences another small disappointment. Repeated checking does not simply measure the wait. It can make you restart it dozens of times. The most useful shift is not pretending you do not care. It is returning to the part of the situation that still belongs to you. You can decide whether your original message was honest and respectful. You can put the phone down for a defined period. You can continue your day. And if silence becomes a repeated pattern, You can decide what kind of communication you are willing to accept. You can also decide in advance what you will do with uncertainty. Maybe you will check again after lunch instead of every 3 minutes. Maybe an urgent question deserves one clear follow-up, while an ordinary conversation can breathe. A small rule chosen while calm is often more useful than a dozen impulses negotiated while anxious. The message is still marked read. Maybe they will answer soon, and maybe the delay will tell you something important. But right now, the read receipt is not a verdict. It is an incomplete piece of information displayed with more certainty than it deserves. You do not have to fill every silence with a story about what is wrong with you. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is leave the empty space empty until reality gives you something more accurate. And if your mind keeps replaying the message even after they respond, the next pattern to understand is why conversations continue inside your head long after they have ended.